Hello everyone and welcome. I'm excited to be here with you today. We're about to dive into an interesting topic, THEORIES of environmental psychology. This slide is just the beginning, and over the course of this presentation, we'll explore key concepts, important theories, and how they help us understand the relationship between people and their environments. So let's get started. Let's take a moment to focus on a simple but powerful concept. The numbers 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. These might seem like just countdown numbers, but they can also symbolize steps, stages, or priorities in a process. Each number represents a point of progression, showing how we move from one stage to the next, building momentum along the way. In the context of our presentation's overall theme, these numbers remind us that progress often involves moving through multiple phases, each one crucial to reaching our goal. The countdown also emphasizes the importance of timing and sequence, knowing when to act, when to pause, and when to accelerate. So, as we go through these points, keep in mind how each step connects to the next, creating a pathway toward success. This sequence highlights the importance of structure and order in achieving our objectives efficiently and effectively. Arousal is essentially a heightening of brain activity. When we talk about arousal theory, we're exploring how different stimuli and stressors in our environment can increase that level of arousal. For example, imagine you're standing on a busy roadside on a hot day. You're surrounded by crowds, the smell of exhaust fumes, honking cars. It's all quite overwhelming. Physiologically, you might notice your heart pounding faster and your blood pressure rising. Behaviorally, you may find yourself becoming less considerate or more irritable towards those around you. This example highlights how environmental factors can influence our arousal levels in both positive and negative ways. The key point here is that arousal isn't just about feeling excited. It also includes stress and discomfort, and these responses can shape our behavior accordingly. Understanding this helps us see how our environment impacts our mental and physical states, which ties into the broader theme of how external stimuli influence our motivation and reactions. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. So, this slide suggests that we have a limited ability to handle environmental stimuli, and that this limit is determined by the amount of information that can be processed by our central nervous systems. Essentially, our brains can only take in so much at once. We've all experienced moments where we feel overwhelmed by too much information. Maybe you've been scrolling through Twitter while at the same time, your housemate is having a loud conversation on the phone in the next room. Before long, it becomes really hard to focus on any of these things happening around us. This is where the environmental load theory comes into play. It explains how the amount of stimuli we experience can overload our cognitive capacity, making it difficult to concentrate or process information effectively. Understanding this helps us see why managing our environment is so important for maintaining focus and mental clarity. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Let's talk about behavior constraint theory. This theory looks at how we might feel powerless when we're in environments that we find undesirable. Essentially, it suggests that our human behavior in these situations is learned over time. If we realize we can't control the stimuli around us, we tend to develop a sense of helplessness. We might accept the situation as it is, because we feel there's nothing we can do to change it. Alternatively, if the environment is too intolerable, we might choose to leave entirely. This theory connects to our overall understanding of how people respond to challenging circumstances, highlighting the importance of perceived control in shaping our reactions. So, think about sharing a flat with other people. Maybe one of your flatmates is messy, they never clean the kitchen or bathroom, and they leave dirty dishes and clothes all over the place. Despite talking to them about it many times, the mess still remains. Now, according to behavior constraint theory, you might find yourself in one of a few situations. You could end up just accepting the mess and living with it, or you might decide to take matters into your own hands and clean up yourself. Or, in some cases, you might even look for a new place to live. This example really highlights the core idea of behavior constraints, how we respond when faced with ongoing issues like this. It's about how our options are shaped by the situation and how that influences our behavior over time. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. So, here we see the adaptation level theory, which suggests that the way we judge a stimulus is largely based on our past experiences and what we remember from similar stimuli we've encountered before. Basically, our personal history shapes how we perceive new things. For example, maybe you avoid cats because you got scratched as a child, and that memory influences your feelings toward them. On the other hand, you might enjoy visiting your best friends because, in the past, those visits have helped you feel calm and relaxed. This theory highlights how our perceptions are not fixed. They're influenced by our individual experiences. It connects to the broader idea that our reactions and judgments are shaped by what we've encountered before, which is key to understanding human behavior and perception overall. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Stressors in our environment, like pollution and climate change, have a real impact on both our physical and mental health. They can influence how we feel emotionally and how we behave day to day. For instance, think about the rise in climate anxiety we've seen in the 21st century. It's not just about the physical effects on our environment and health, but also about how it affects our mental well-being. This brings us to the environment stress theory, which helps us understand how external stressors like these can influence our overall health. It's a key concept because it shows how interconnected our environment and our health truly are, reinforcing the importance of addressing these stressors for our well-being. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Ecological theory tells us that we coexist with our environments, meaning our surroundings are an integral part of who we are. It suggests that our behaviors are heavily influenced by these environments, perhaps even more than by our internal traits or personalities. In fact, it proposes that there is no greater influence on our behavior than the environment itself. Think about how you might behave at work, at school, or even at a friend's house. Each of these settings has its own unique cues and expectations. Ecological theory indicates that it's the environment, the place, the setting that plays a crucial role in shaping how we act, often even more than our individual personality traits. This idea helps us understand that behavior isn't just about who we are inside, but also about where we are and what that place demands or encourages. It ties into the overall theme that understanding behavior requires considering the context, the environment, as a key factor influencing our actions. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. Let's take a moment to overview all the key theories of environmental psychology we've discussed. These theories help us understand how our surroundings influence our behavior, emotions, and overall well-being. Each theory offers a unique perspective, whether it's about how people perceive spaces, how they interact with nature, or how built environments can promote health. By connecting these ideas, we can see a broader picture of how environment and psychology are deeply intertwined. This overview really emphasizes the importance of designing spaces that support positive human experiences and mental health, which ties back to our overall theme of creating healthier, more supportive environments for everyone. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide.